This is Mission Matters. Mission Matters podcast shines a spotlight on the nonprofit leaders, innovators, and change makers who are making a positive impact in their communities and across the nation. Through engaging conversations, we explore the missions that drive these organizations, the challenges they face, and the real world differences they are making in the lives of those they serve. Each episode goes beyond storytelling by helping listeners discover meaningful ways to get involved, whether through financial support, volunteering, advocacy, or community engagement. We connect our audience with opportunities to make a difference. We also provide information on how individuals and families can access services and assistance offered by the nonprofits that are featured. Our goal is simple: to inspire action, amplify impact, and connect people with organizations that are changing the world one community at a time. Whether you're looking for a cause to support, resources for yourself or a loved one, or inspiration from leaders who are dedicated to serving others, Mission Matters Podcast is your source for stories that truly matter. Listen, learn, get involved, make an impact. For decades, heavy metal and hard rock music have served as a sanctuary for people processing intense emotions, trauma, and anger. But for many who listen, especially our military veterans, active service members, and first responders, the battle doesn't end when the music stops. They carry the invisible, heavy weight of post traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Welcome to Mission Matters. I'm your host, Justin, and today we'll be exploring a powerful intersection of music, advocacy, and mental health. We are looking at the Taylor Foundation, a nonprofit founded by Corey Taylor, the iconic frontman of Slipknot and Stone Sour. Instead of reinventing the wheel, this foundation acts as a megaphone and a funding engine for the local, boots on the ground organizations treating PTSD across the country. Joining us today to unpack how they do this is the foundation's managing director, Mary Mosteller. Mary, welcome to Mission Matters. Now, Mary, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I live in upstate New York, and I've been the managing director here of the Taylor Foundation with Corey since 2022, and got a family, and I like to travel, and I'm just super passionate about this cause and everybody that we're connected with, and I'm honored to be here today.
Awesome. So Corey Taylor, obviously, he's known globally for his music, uh, but the Taylor Foundation is deeply personal. Can you share the personal spark behind the foundation, specifically Corey's relationship with his grandfather, a Korean War veteran, and stories he heard from fans on the road that kind of made this foundation necessary?
Yeah, so 'cause it's something that Corey's been passionate about for a very long time. His grandfather, Claire Taylor, was a Korean War veteran, I believe, in the Army, and came back and had back then what they called, battle fatigue, severe alcoholism, became homeless, divorced his grandmother, who was his only real stable person in his life. And I think just in reflecting, wow, if this man would have been able to identify what was happening within him, if he was able to talk about it, if people would listen to him talk about it, if there was resources, like how could everything have been different in their family? And then just being in music, so many people over the years, I've said that Slipknot's the soundtrack to their deployment, or that their music has saved his life, and just so many people have come to him to say thank you. He's ready. He wanted to give back. It's time for him to give back, and it's very deeply personal to him. He's definitely well known for his music, but man, that heart, twice the size of that neck. It really is. It really is.
When
Um,
I know when I met you, I was like the Corey Taylor Foundation. Like I did not think they went together, and then I heard the story, the background, and it completely made sense.
yeah, it's a beautiful partnership. I mean, a lot of celebrities do charity to look good. A lot of them
Mm.
do. But what you don't see backstage, behind the scenes isn't always great. And I can tell you with all of my being that Corey is in this for 100% the right reasons, and, volunteers hours and hours of his time. I just sent him like 15 different PSA kind of scripts he's got to do, and he does them, and he's an amazing human. He really cares.
That's
He
awesome.
really cares. See, that's
Uh,
that tangent I talk about.
oh,
I'll just
you're
go on
you're
those.
good. You're good.
Okay.
Uh, the Taylor Foundation has a unique approach. Obviously, instead of running like a treatment facility or having groups, you fund and amplify existing local nonprofits. Why was this specific partnership or model kind of the starting point for you guys?
So when I first met Corey, we met on Zoom, kind of like this, and we were talking like, "What does this look like? What do you want to do?" And we didn't really know. And it's funny you say treatment center because I remember saying like, "We're not going to open like the Betty Ford Clinic for PTSD and slap your name on it. Like that's kind of dumb. You know, how do we best leverage who he is as a person and his influence?" You know, and there's so many amazing organizations all around the country, boots on the ground, people that are really getting stuff done. No red tape, no big name at the top doing all this, just real people doing real stuff. And those are the people we connect with. And
Mhm.
what better way to build this than to use his voice, his celebrity to uplift all of these organizations around the country. And when fans come looking for resources, to point them in those directions and kind of be that network like hub
Yeah.
to get it out there. And people listen when he talks for whatever reason. When talks, people listen to Corey Taylor, you know, so we can use that voice to try to smash stigma and let people know it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to ask for help, you know, and all that. We've got to do something. We have to,
Mhm.
you know, we thought that that was the best use of his status, influence, and capacity that
That's awesome.
so we could be authentic.
It just keeps coming to me, and it's so cliche that I wanna say it, that
Say
Corey Taylor, the man behind the mask. I mean,
it.
everyone sees Slipknot, but it's there really is a man back there, and a
Yes,
very
there
good
is.
man.
Yes.
So you focus heavily on military veterans and first responders. Why was it vital for the foundation to include emergency personnel like, firefighters, police, EMTs? I know you've talked about corrections before too. Why was it vital to include all of those?
Well, I mean, let's be real. Trauma is universal. I think everybody that exists has, not everybody, a lot of people have a lot of trauma. It
Mm,
affects everyone, but those, not but, and firefighter, law enforcement, corrections, dispatch. Can we talk about dispatch?
sure.
Like the first responder that nobody thinks about. Um, there, everybody in that kind of service kind of industry just has so much of it. And so many of them, again, similar to the military, come to him and say, you know, how grateful they are to his music. And I think it's just part of his service
Mhm,
mentality. They all fit in that and they're all important. Um, and I'll say like law enforcement has been the hardest to crack. That culture is so hard to get into. And personally, my son just got his police badge. And so I'm super passionate about we need to infiltrate this culture because
yes,
I want my own son to live, you know?
yes.
Um,
And I worked in corrections before, and I actually you brought up dispatch. I made it all of 4 days, working as a dispatcher, and it was,
and how many years in prison?
well, working in prison. I wasn't in prison. No,
I know, I
I
know.
I always tell everyone I met my wife in prison. She was my nurse. But, no, I did, 18 years in prison,
In 4
working
days in
there,
dispatch.
and 4 days in dispatch. I would rather deal with inmates than deal with phone calls about I mean, it was I think my 2nd day I dealt with a CPR call, and it was I could give CPR, but doing it over the phone and not being able to help was completely a different story. Um, so it was nice of you to include them in that also because they do go through a lot
They
and
sure
they're
do.
often overlooked.
And there's a great organization. One of the ones I found that's specific for dispatch is the 911 Wellness Project. I bel I don't wanna say where they're out of, but it's 911 Wellness Project, and
Mm,
and they're specific for, dispatch,
that's
which
awesome.
and I love, like, Desert Waters is specific for corrections because I think and this is important to me, I think a lot of groups and there's hundreds of groups out there that do amazing things. They wanna do something for everybody. We do veterans, we do first responders, we do fire, we do police, and that's
Mm,
great. I'd rather have them go and be lumped than not go at all. But it's such a niche experience, and it has niche triggers and reactors and culture and all of this, and you deserve your own place. You deserve that. I feel.
Yeah, and it kind of brings up the next question I have because it is a niche thing. I mean, you have police really helping police and corrections helping corrections, military helping military, and I think a lot of that comes down to you know, the stigma that law enforcement, military don't get help, for mental health, for PTSD. So how does the foundation use Corey's platform in the rock music community to break down the toxic, tough it out mentality, to allow people to go get help?
So I think it's safety, it's trust, it's access. Um, we're talking about it all the time, and we do a lot of big music festivals, which I'm sure we'll talk about deeper later. But we provide a safe, open place where people can come in and let it out. And when you're surrounded by other people, your peers, breaking down and sobbing on a complete stranger's shoulder, it's a little bit easier for you to do that too.
Yeah.
No judgment. I think it's because we're raw, we're honest, we're real. Um, and we're not necessarily trying to solve your problem. Sometimes we just need to let you know we just hear what you're saying, and I see you in it.
Mm,
I don't know if that's in. I don't even remember what your question was because I just went on my
well,
squirrel. Um,
you're good.
did I
Yeah,
answer it?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it goes along. I think one of the biggest things that you do in talking to you before is almost a peer support, where, you know, people are just there to talk and on an equal playing field. It's not a doctor-client relationship. It's just, "Hey, I've been through it too, and I'm here to talk to you."
Well, peer support is one of the greatest way to keep people alive.
Mhm,
You're going to listen to your peers. I'm a civilian, so I'm not a peer in any of this. So that's why it's so critical that we have ambassadors, and I've got a whole team of combat vets in law enforcement, and now I've got contacts for corrections or different places where
mhm,
I can connect you to somebody that's with you. Will you talk to them? And so I can think of 5 people off the top of my hand that I know are alive today because we connected them to a peer, at least. I'm up to 10. Like, peers are so important. They're so
yeah.
influential. And peer pressure,
I
hello?
know.
Who got you to have your first beer? Or whatever it is, I mean, we listen to our friends, we trust our
Yeah,
friends, and we need to be friends. We need to check on our friends.
for sure.
We need to let our friends check on us. Um,
Exactly. Since you partner with local organizations in different cities, uh, during Corey's tour stops and music festivals, what specific criteria do you look for in local nonprofits when deciding to, team up with them?
Yeah, so when we first started, um, when Slipknot was on tour for the first 3 years, that was kind of the model. Wherever he went on tour, he'd give me a list of the cities and when he was available. We didn't do all of them, but we did as many as we could. Then I would go in and kind of just research that city, just do lots of Googling, checking things out. I would go to their website. I check their 990. I want to look at where
Mm,
their money goes,
yes.
what's coming in, what's going out. Check their social media numbers because you need an audience to be able to amplify something,
Mm,
and kind of just I totally scan their social media because you just need to. Who are they? That tells you a lot about who people are. And then I reach out and schedule a call to ask if we can hop on Zoom. Sometimes I get asked if I'm a scam. People don't believe me, and I'm like, no, really, I really am with this organization, and I really want to help you. So can we please just hop on Zoom, and you'll
mhm,
realize it's authentic. And then we have a call, and I've never had a call with anybody that I decided we didn't want to work with. I don't know if that's because we've done the homework up front. And then when Corey would come to that city, he'd go and spend an hour or so with them. He's done everything from um, art classes to he's taught guitar, he's spoken, he's just hung out or sat around the table and like brainstormed how things can be better in the system. Any number of things. He's helped train service animals and just hang out with them. And then they get to go tickets to the show.
mm,
But the reality is you can only hit so many cities in so many years,
yeah,
and there's so many organizations out there.
there are a
And
lot.
Slipknot's not touring this year. They only did one US show last year. So we've had to kind of adapt because we still want to go full steam ahead. So what does this look like when Corey's not touring? And at this point, we've got over 200 charity partners that we've found, connected with, and I'm getting more and more every day. And we're just it's grassroots. People come, hey, have you heard about this group? No, I haven't. Tell me all about it. We're
Mhm.
trying to make as many relationships as we can.
Awesome. So traditional talk therapy doesn't work for everyone. Uh, I'd venture to say a lot of people in the law enforcement aren't or in military necessarily don't like the talk therapy. What are some of the more innovative and creative methods or treatment modalities, such as music, art, outdoor adventure, that some of the local partner organizations have you seen?
There's so many amazing things out there. And I want to say, I love that you named some of those things off because we do this PTSD board at the festivals that allows people to kind of tangibly connect the dots on their story. They tell us, you tell me who you are, what triggers you, and what makes you feel better. And then at the end, the top 5 things that help make people feel better are going to be the kind of programs we're going to look for because we think it's going to make the greatest impact. And out of those, music, nature, animals, peers
Mhm.
and family like people. Um, music. Did I say animals?
Yes.
Music, animals, nature. What else did you say?
Art?
Art. And humor. No, humor. Humor's number 2.
Oh, humor,
Um,
okay.
yeah, which I think is interesting. And there really aren't a lot of organizations out there that do humor. There's a woman who's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. Her name's Robin Johnson, and she has this group called Hilarious, and it's all like military humor kind of stuff. And she does workshops, and she does this like America's Funniest Veteran, which is pretty cool. Um, I mean, I I heard somebody in Oregon, Florida, and I haven't checked them out, but I heard about it just last month that they do PTSD therapy and tagging sharks. Like they go out and like tag sharks for things. I'm like, what?
Wow.
But I've heard like surfing, all kinds of things, horse therapy, the equine therapy. I've heard so many amazing testimonials from those. I'm actually going to attend like a caregiver kind of one this summer because I want to like understand it. I've heard so many positive things about EMDR that it's like
Mhm.
life changing. It's non invasive. It doesn't hurt. It helps rewire stuff. And I've heard amazing things about that, and there's a lot of buzz, no pun intended, at all, but like on the DMT and the
Mhm.
ketamine and the psilocybin and, you know, if data shows that those things work, it's interesting. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like try things until
Mhm.
no, I'm not going to go on that. So I'm going to hold that for later. But there's
Alright.
just so many things out there, and I feel like just keep trying until you find the thing that fits for you. I've been talking to a veteran in my inbox for like 7 months. I keep checking on this guy, and it's to the point where he's tired. He's
Mhm.
tired of trying new things. And it's like, nothing else has worked. So why is this going to work? But you won't know until you try. And if you don't
Yeah.
try, you're still going to feel like this,
Right.
you know? I
Makes
think one
sense.
of the most amazing things that people don't realize that they have at their own fingertips is your breathing and being able to go outside and walk in grass and breathe fresh air.
Mhm.
Take your shoes off and walk in the grass. Learn to practice your breathing. We can regulate ourselves. Like we have all these things at our disposal and we can use them and it doesn't cost anything. You don't need a ride to get there.
Yeah.
All these excuses and barriers why you can't do things. Can't, never tried, you know.
Mhm. Get out there and
Thanks for coming to
I
my TED talk
I
on that.
I know I was doing reading on box breathing the other day and, just crazy the different things that we take for granted, like air and focusing on breathing can change so much with your mental health.
It really can. Did you find it that as well?
I've
Or you were
been
just reading?
I was reading about but I mean, when you're reading about box breathing for whatever reason, you actually start doing it. I mean, you
Right.
can't not, but it's, definitely something I wanna try. I I'm willing to try different things.
Well, you got to
Um,
breathe all day long, Justin.
exactly. You
You
got to
get better
breathe.
with practice.
Since you work so closely with so many local organizations, is there a specific success story from a partner group that perfectly captures the impact of the Taylor Foundation?
If you're willing to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole, it's a pretty cool story.
I love rabbit holes.
So we were at Incarceration last summer, which is in Ohio, and I had a volunteer named Wade who is a who works for Project Refit. And Project Refit is all about like refitting your brain. They're big gym rats. They work out, they do fireside chats. They're good dudes. And he's
Mhm.
kind of got like this just salesman personality, but in a way that you like it and it's believable because
Uh-huh.
it's authentic. So he was helping with us. And apparently he met this guy, Zach. And Zach had come up. He was a gym rat too. And they were hanging out, just talking because that's what happens at our booth. People just hang out and it's like home for them. And they talk, they exchange numbers. So a couple months go by and Zach's not in a great spot. Messages Wade. Project Refit flies Zach to them to attend this retreat like that weekend. And I was like, oh my God. And he was like the testimony. It was great. So a couple months go by, and I'm talking to all of them. And we got this opportunity to go on Shiprocked heavy metal cruise to the Bahamas in January. So I said, Zach, you and Wade should come and be my volunteer team on this boat because that's what this is all about. And we're just getting started. Like,
Mhm.
you guys should come and do this. And they were all going to do it. So then, literally 3 days before we set sail, Zach got an updated prescription at the VA that wasn't he wasn't going to be able to come on this boat. It would have been a liability. So he couldn't come. So I had to cut him and I felt horrible. And I'm in Vegas working SHOT Show, and I'm like, oh my God, now I got to find a employment for the guy. But it was fine. It all worked out. So then I stayed in touch and I was like, Zach, I promise you, when you're right, not when you're right, but when you're good, when you're better, you're going to have a spot. Like any festival you want, you got a place with me. I promise. And so we stayed in touch. And then he's like, I want to do ink. So he was going to do ink this year. Then he reaches out to me in May and it's like, maybe it was April. He's like, I'm in a bad spot. I need to go to a 12-week program. It starts such and such a date. I can't do ink. I'm like, okay. And he felt bad, like he's letting me down. Like he kept,
Mhm.
and I'm like, no, 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 no. You take care of you. Like I would so much rather you be there because you need to be there. Um, And it just so happened, we were talking and you could tell he was really tired.
Yeah.
He wasn't in a good spot. So I was like, oh my gosh. So I don't know if you met them at Inc., but do you know who else was at Inc.? Was Amanda and Justin from Hooves. And Hooves is in Ohio and you live in Ohio. And it just so happens that they have a retreat coming, starts next Tuesday, like in 4 days. If you can get there, you can go for free. And it's a horse therapy program and they're super cool. And I know you're suicidal. And I know that the one guy that's working there had every intention of driving a motorcycle into a tractor trailer. And he thought he was going to go to Hooves just to have one last hangout with his buddies. And now he didn't wa he didn't wanna kill himself after that. Like, he was going to say goodbye, and he didn't. This isn't Zach. This is this guy
Yeah.
that works there. Like, I'm just trying to give him, like, anything, like, just
Mhm.
go. Just go, and it'll hold you until this next thing. And he went. In the pictures I saw from that, and the things that he told me from that, and the tears, and the That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
it's not so much that this one organization does everything one thing, but it's all about the network, and we're all talking, and,
Yeah.
we've all got our tabs on these people, and, "Well, oh, you've got this going on? Oh my gosh, look, you should come." It's that's the magic, and
Yeah.
and I could tell you 20 of those stories,
That's awesome.
and they're real people, and their family. Like it becomes this family where we're
Mhm.
all just looking out for each other. And that's what the metal community is all about to begin with. And I'm a hippie, so I don't even know. Um, anyways.
I think you might be a little bit of a rocker now, though.
I'm getting there. Yeah. No, I
So
like rock.
in what you were just talking about, I mean, the statistics surrounding PTSD and suicide in the veteran community, in the first responder communities, they're staggering. Is there a specific data point that drives the urgency in what you guys do with the Taylor Foundation? And, is there a sign of progress that gives you guys hope?
Yeah. I've got 2 data points. So, 1, I think everybody seems to know or say, it's 22 a day, 22 vets a day. But the reality is that I think it's like 60% or the majority, whatever the majority of veterans who complete suicide are not affiliated with the VA. So this 22, I'm assuming, connects VA people, but the majority of veteran suicides are not affiliated with the
Mm,
VA. And they don't include in that number drug overdoses, which maybe isn't immediate suicide, but it certainly isn't, it's tied to mental health in a lot of
mhm,
ways, I believe, addiction. Um, and so the numbers are so much higher is what I'm trying to say. Um, and it's like 1 every minute. It's more than that. Like, so it's so many more than that. And we
yeah,
need to do something about it. Like you can't wait for the government to come save you because they're not coming. You know,
yes,
the machine, you've got this great big machine, and let the machine be the machine. It has a purpose, it has a role. But there's not enough access and there's a lot of wait time at the machine. So the machine needs to have all of these little spiders all over the place. And so that's why we need to do that, to get people into help go wherever the hell you can go to get it because you need it.
yes,
The second data point, and it's hard to explain if you haven't seen it in person. But again, this PTSD board, it's this giant 8-foot structure with 72 pins on it that people wrap string around. And like I said earlier, the top 5 are the programs that we're going to invest our time and our energy and our funds on. I've done this board probably 16 times in the last 3.5 years. And the data replicates. It's really fascinating. And these things live in my house. It's like sitting in my living room upstairs and we stare at it all the time. The
mhm,
data is pretty consistent. The one pin, let's say like music is number 1 and the string has 600 strings around it. It's got the most of anything. Hotlines as a healing thing, or is that something that's helpful, has never had more than 5 strings on it. I have
mm,
almost 1,000 people complete this activity every weekend that I do it. I've never had more than 5 people say a hotline helps.
mhm,
More often than not, it's got red string, which says it's
triggering,
triggering to
yeah,
them. I've heard so many people tell me they get hung up on. They're calling because they're fighting with the wife, and then the number says, "Well, that's a domestic issue, not a veteran issue," and they get hung. Like, and they're not going to call a stranger. And
mhm,
you really need to get help before you're in crisis mode where you need a hotline. I get it, but the part that really pisses me off in a way is systemically across the country. I think that's everybody's cop out go to public service announcement or way to help. This is how we're going to spread awareness. Call 988, call the hotline, call the suicide hotline. I think people just assume that's the answer or that's the go to. But over and over and over and over, every data point tells me that is not the answer. So either you need to fix it or
mhm,
fix how you promote it or whatever, or invest in other ways because that's not the answer. And I think it's bullshit that that's positioned as the answer
mhm.
because it doesn't help. And if you really want to help people, you have to give them something that they also find helpful. Um,
I think that's
I'm
one.
passionate about that. I don't know if
Oh,
you
I
picked
think
that
it's
up.
great.
I get fired up over this.
I think it's great that
And I
what
told
you
it to the head of VA suicide prevention. I looked him right in the
mhm,
face and I said it. And I'm like,
I know you did,
you're damn
but
right I
I
did.
mean, I
You
I
got the
can,
floor. I'm going to use it.
I just love, one that's one of the reasons why the Taylor Foundation is great is because, you're not just saying, "Hey, go call this number." You're connecting them with different modalities, different treatment options, different groups. that, you know, not everyone can go through a 12-step program. Not everyone can go
Right.
through counseling. And there's something out there for everybody. We just have to find it. Uh, but something you were talking about brings me to my next question. You know, you set up the tents at the rock festivals, uh, music's going on, a fan or a veteran walks up to your booth in the middle of the concerts. Um, they realize help is available. What does that look like?
So every festival has its own vibe, crowd. Um, I mean, it's very similar. They love us. When gates open on the first day, I have a line of 30 people waiting outside of our tent to come tell us, I got sober. I got a dog. I had a guy at Sonic um, just this past May who came all the way, which is in Ohio, came all the way from Nova Scotia.
Oh, wow.
And he was there 10 minutes after gates open and says, Mary, the only reason I bought a ticket to this year was to let you know I wanted you to know that I got help and I'm in a much better place and I didn't kill myself, you know? It's the only
Mhm,
reason I bought a ticket. And we've got tons of them, you know, people, it's a family. So people come and it blows their mind, right? Because, like you say, talk therapy, any kind of therapy certainly isn't what you're thinking you're going to get when you're going to a 3-day metal festival, you know, with 240,000 of your favorite sweaty friends, you know?
yeah,
And I think that's the element of surprise in it because
mhm,
we are so in your face. And I'm sorry, but if you're in law enforcement or a veteran, particularly, we can spot you a mile away. I'm like, get him, get him. There he is, get him, bring him in there. But as soon as you see this giant thing that screams PTSD,
yeah,
they stop in their tracks. They're like, what's this? What's
mhm,
this? And some people storm right in like they're on a mission. Some people hang out back and they're not ready to walk inside, but they'll stand out there looking 15, 20 minutes, and then they'll come back the next day.
mhm,
So we're filled with, like I said, volunteers, peers, you know, combat vets, law enforcement, firefighters, and we do have some civilians that are all trained, you know, and they're there. We got all kinds of things going on. We've got like the PTSD board. We've got a whole wall of cassette tapes that are just resources that we found. So you can press play on your mental health. And then this year we did this whole like record thing, which we're having each festival curate a mental health playlist for each other. So I've got this
mm,
giant wall of records, and every record's got like its own emotion on it. When I'm angry, when I'm sad, when I'm grieving, when I'm hopeful, when I'm strong, whatever they are. And if you've got a go-to song, like your survival song for that emotion, write it on the record. And then at the end, we're going to have this whole giant playlist that everybody at Sonic Temple built for everybody else at Sonic Temple. And that list is so different than the song list we got at Welcome to Rockville. Like they're all just
yeah,
different kinds of people in a way, but
mhm,
that's the beauty of the metal community. You know, they help each other and they lift each other up. So I think just in the nature of who the audience is, it's just such a very welcoming, safe place. You know, people are happy, people are talking. It doesn't feel, and people are sobbing. Like there's a lot of crying, but people are innately drawn to it. They want to
mhm,
know. I've had so many psychologists, psychiatrists come be like, how do you get people to do this? I've had people in therapy for 10 years. They wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. How do you get them to do it?
yeah,
I'm like, I think it's because they don't expect it. They don't have time to puff their chest out and be like, I'm not doing that today because they're all in the heart of it as soon as they see it. Oh, and it's just Corey? Corey's doing this? Oh my God, that's so cool. Like in that, it's 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 an awesome experience. It
that's
really
cool.
is. A lot of hugs, a lot of tears.
Yeah,
But a lot of people, you had said it earlier, like, how do I know, you know, with the data or the statistics, you know, that things are working? And it's the repeat people. It's the people that come back every single year. And you know, certain people you have conversations with that, you know, immediately, you know, when somebody looks you in the face and says, I'm wearing a belt for the first time today, for the first time in 4 years today. And I'm
mhm,
not even thinking, I'm like, oh yeah? Yeah, because the last time it was around my neck when I tried to hang myself. Like they're ordering a taco.
yeah,
Um, you know, when that person comes back the next year and they're still wearing the belt, you know,
mhm,
or And there's people like conversations like that stick with me, and I will always know your face and what I'll never forget that. But then there's other people that maybe are camouflaged more. Maybe they don't stand out so much that I remember. I mean, we see thousands of people. I can't remember everybody, right? But then when people show up and they're like, this is my fourth year in a row coming, or they come up and they have a bracelet from that we haven't had in 4 years,
Yeah.
and they're like, I come every year and do this. And there's more and more of them. And so I'll ask them, has your story changed? Like when you do this, are you adjusting? Some things not triggering to you? Or are you finding other things that help? And some people stay consistent and some people, they grow and they evolve. And that's just it just means so much. It's awesome. It's
Absolutely.
awesome. We're changing lives. We're saving lives. I know we are. We got a
That's
great
awesome.
team.
So you are the managing director, and you obviously bridge the gap between high profile celebrity, the founder, Corey Taylor, and the realities of a nonprofit organization, which are trying and hard work. What's the biggest challenge of maintaining an organization that has such massive visibility but operates with a highly targeted mission?
Um, it's really important that if we're going to do something, we need to do it right and we need to do it well. Um, there's so many people that want to get involved and they want to help. I do have a crew of ambassadors, 20, 25 people that routinely volunteered. We vetted and we know them, and it's that are part of this volunteer team. There's hundreds that want to help, and I would love to let every single one of them help. I would, and we strive. We want to have like a full official kind of ambassador program because
Hmm.
again, peer support, peers are everything, and they
Hmm.
matter and they're important. But we don't want to roll it out until we're absolutely sure everything is in place to make it continue to run.
Hmm.
One thing that I'm very sensitive to are open and closed doors. The last thing I want to do with anybody who wants to help us, particularly if they've served in any capacity, is say yes and then never be able to say yes. I'm not bringing you to a
Hmm.
closed door. So it's a matter of we're trying to scale with
Hmm.
very limited internal capacity to begin with. And so when we do it, we need to do it right. Um, because there's people that are going to invest themselves in that, and we want it
Yeah.
to be meaningful and impactful for them. So that's been a challenge. Um, Corey's not a challenge at all. He's very responsive. If I text him, I
Hmm.
need something, he texts me right back. Um, sometimes I got to choose somebody. He's a busy guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
Um,
can imagine.
but he's fantastic. Anything we need, he's got it. He got us a storage unit in Vegas so we can do a West Coast activation. Um, he does everything that he possibly can to help. But we just want to make sure we're doing things well, doing quality things, and keeping our integrity. Again, we're real
Hmm.
people, we're authentic people. Um, I'm going to call bullshit on the hotline thing all day long. You know what I mean? Because on principle, if something's
Hmm.
right, we're going to say what's right. And if some people don't like it, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
We're true to what we believe in. And yeah.
So, what goes on behind the scenes to keep the Taylor Foundation running smoothly between tour cycles, between festival sessions, when the spotlight isn't actively on you, when you don't have a tent out in the festival? What's going on?
Well, we're always planning for the next one for sure.
Mhm.
There's always something in the hopper. More and more as we're gaining visibility, more and more partnerships are coming in. So a lot of, behind the scenes, it's doing emails, doing podcasts like Mission Matters, and, just trying to make those connections and build those relationships and, just try to do as much as we can. And this is one thing, like I said before, when Corey was on tour, he would go meet with groups. Well, he's not on
Mhm.
tour this year. So he's really doing a whole lot of like PSAs because that's something he can do in real time wherever he is, and still keep the train moving without
Mhm.
him having to be right there on site. Just trying to be flexible and move forward. And nimble. The more we learn, the more we want to um, be out there.
Awesome. Uh, so when dealing with the topic of PTSD, uh, on a daily basis, especially in a tour season when you're going around and hearing all of the stories, how do you keep the team energized? How do you yourself keep from getting bogged down from just the weight of the stories that you're hearing?
It's hard. Just it's hard. I'm an empath. For me personally, it's hard. I've gotten better at it though.
Mm,
The team is critical. So, for me, you got to have those basic needs are met. And out back behind the tent, I always have a place where they can leave, they can go sit out back. There's all kinds of snacks and drinks and food, and here's your space if you need a quiet space. They know at any given time if you need to take a walk. Take a walk. Like you don't
mm,
have to ask, just go. Give me a nod and go, and we're fine. We have kind of some code language, body language. So sometimes those conversations aren't transactional 30-second. Yeah, this is what
mm,
we're all about. You're in our booth for anywhere from 7 to 47 minutes talking. So sometimes things can go long and you're kind of like, "You all right? You all right?" Like we've kind of got to
mhm,
look. So if somebody needs to get saved, we can come and save them. Um, but the after is hard. In the beginning, I would spend a day and a half, 2 days in my bed in a fetal position, just trying to like make sense of it all. Like, what? What we just hear? This one of our volunteers, Andrea, who just kind of started with us this spring, she taught us all about the container exercise, which I've heard of and I've used in certain things. Like sometimes I'll hold like a stone, like I'll keep it in my bra. Like this stone has to carry all this so I don't have to. But she like does this whole thing where you visualize this vessel. It can be whatever you want. It can be a terrarium. It can be whatever you want it to be.
mhm,
A Jack Daniels bottle, like whatever you want it to be. And that bottle or container is always between you and the person you're talking to. So that everything that they say, like I'm putting all of this in this container and I'm going to seal it up and I can open it when I'm ready to. And she explains it much better. And I think if you researched it, it would be much
mhm,
better, but it's a way of putting it in there so you don't actually take it in. So you're a mirror, not a sponge. We
mhm.
can't sponge all this. We also just met this group. I met them in Vegas, but they're based out of Bridgeland, South Carolina. It's called Patriot FOB. Pa- um, Patriot FOB, yeah, FOB. And they've got this 263-acre retreat center. It's on an old plantation down in South
Oh,
Carolina
wow.
with like like big open metal gates. And they've got like all kinds of shooting ranges and skeet and pigeons and all that kind of stuff. I don't do that. So you probably get
Yeah.
it. I don't. Um, in this giant fire pit. And they were going to do this thing for the 22 a day, that for 24 hours a day for 22 days straight, had this giant massive fire pit manned by veterans, like
Mm,
honoring that. And then it would go into like Memorial Day. Like they do amazing stuff. They had like Lee Bryce come to their thing and do a giant concert. They're amazing. They're
mhm,
so cool. Um, and I got to tour it last month, and they want to host a retreat for all of our volunteers to bring our whole team together because everybody works different shows. Some know each other, some don't, but to really do some
mhm.
collaboration, team building, be able to like debrief some of this stuff and unpack it, get more skills and training um, to go forward. And I'm really excited about that.
That's
Um,
awesome. I mean,
yeah,
that's
because
one
it's all
thing
about the team, and
it
I think
is.
seeing the team, like, I just want to say this real quick, like to the point of how much we help the people who come and visit us at the tent. I'm so damn proud of the growth in what this does intrinsically for every single person who steps in there as a
Mhm,
volunteer. Like this has changed their lives. This has given them,
mhm.
some of them, reason to live. People who came in thinking like, I don't have a heart, realized they had one,
Yeah.
and they never went back to having a black heart. It was great.
And that's one of the things that's so hard with, any treatment, peer support is you have to take care of yourself first, you know?
You do.
Uh, what one analogy I've heard before is, when you get on an airplane, who do they tell to put on the oxygen mask first? You gotta put it on yourself before you help other people, and
Absolutely.
it's so true with the line of work you guys are doing. Um, so fans love to support Corey by buying merchandise and donating, but what are some ways, people can engage? How can listeners help bridge the gap for veterans and first responders in their local communities?
Sure. I will say Corey's fans definitely love to buy merch.
Mhm,
We don't really sell merch. And I'm in particular because when we like of what we do on site at these festivals, those conversations are so intimate and
mhm,
they're relational. Like in that moment, that conversation, you become family because you just told me the most horrible thing that ever happened in your life, you know?
mhm.
And I would never disrespect that person to be like, can you hang on 1 second? What size do you need? Yeah, I
Yeah,
won't do that. I won't
yeah.
do that. I think the minute we sell things in our booth, we become transactional and we lose
Mhm,
the respect and the vulnerability and the safety that we already have. However, I know fans love it. So we've partnered with Demons Behind Me, who are also at the festivals and online. They've got a charity as well for mental health and they're t-shirt experts, t-shirts, hats. So we let them make them. We've got a t-shirt and a new trucker hat the trucker hat's brand new that just kind of came out. Um, and we let them sell it. We promote that they sell it. And then we just show up for the check presentation. It's great. Sure, we could make a ton more money if we sold them ourselves, but we're in the business of we're not in business of merch. That's
yeah.
just not what we're here for. Um, and yes, and we very much rely on donations, very much so. Um, how can people help? How can people I think helping spread the word, following us
Mhm,
on socials. We have accounts on, Facebook, Instagram. I think there's a TikTok, but yeah, let's be real, we're never gonna put a TikTok out. Like, probably not gonna happen anytime soon. But follow us on socials. Check out our website, let your friends know about us.
mhm.
We all know somebody who serves in some capacity, and
Yeah,
many people who do serve know who Corey Taylor is. So
mhm,
just sending them to our website, because what's really great is on our website, and we need to update it. Um, is if you go on your state, it'll pull up all the resources that we vetted that we recommend within that state. And there's also some national ones. While we try to focus locally, we understand national groups are helpful. At
mhm.
times you need them. So there's all kind of resources on our website, which is wearettf.org. And that's intentional. We are the Taylor Foundation because it's all about we. We are all part of this. We're doing our part, but we feel everybody that speaks out for us on our behalf with us um, helping people are all part of that family, checking on a buddy, checking on a friend, I
Mhm,
just helping us break that stigma. I think, and this is just like a random one off, but people, well, some one little tiny thing you can do to smash stigma. People always say somebody committed suicide. Well, people commit murder, they commit rape, I don't think suicide's a crime. I don't
mhm.
really do it, but it's not a crime. So I think people have changed, adjusted to completed suicide or
Yeah,
died by suicide. Just the way we use our own language when we talk about things like that. Um,
a good point.
it, and just being mindful of how we approach our friends and things when they're
Mhm.
not going well. I'm from the Suck It Up Club. Suck it up, Like, as a mother of 3 boys, I am all about the Suck It Up Club because there's no crying right now. We don't have time for this,
Yeah,
but when we stop and be like, "You know what? It's alright," that our own behavior and our own little circle makes a big difference, in how other people experience and view mental health. Mm. I think that's a great way to start.
yeah. Well, we knocked out my last question I had for you, which was, where can we go to follow you? Which, if you didn't hear, www.wearettf.org. Um, what any last words you wanna give people that are listening?
Um, Also add to that list LinkedIn. Um, I'm just very grateful, on behalf of the Taylor Foundation. Corey and I we're very grateful for everybody's like love and support and trust and just supportive of us and what we're trying to do. And it's not about Corey. It's he's not the win in this. He's the
Mhm.
amplifier. But the win are these all the humans who are getting help, all the humans who are thinking about getting help, all the organizations that are just blood, sweat, and tears of people who around the clock are serving others. They're the heroes,
Mhm.
And for me personally, people say it all the time, you're so lucky you get to work with Corey Taylor. And I am. I mean, serious, right? Like, what? Of course. Like, I'm very lucky. I'm very
Right.
lucky. Um, for me, it's the people that come back year after year. It's the people that it's the 2 a.m. messages from people that I'm nervous about,
Mhm.
but then they end up messaging me at 8 o'clock on Monday and they're still here. That
Mhm.
those are the wins. That's the win. This stuff matters and it's making a difference. And slow and steady, yes, we want to scale and just blast us out of the amps, but even at the pace we're at, and that's not a like a oh at all. It's a
Mhm.
I'm so humbled by this and just humbled by the the love that we get from people. We love every single one of you just as much. And that's like from the heart. This has changed my life. I think it's changed Corey's life. I know it has. And we're just grateful and we're going to keep this train moving and we want as many people on board and involved in helping us spread the word as we can.
Well, awesome. Well, Mary, thank you for being my very first guest.
You're
Episode
welcome.
1, down the drain.
I was
Um, I was laughing when you said that
hopefully it's
you
not sewage.
yeah, well, I was laughing when you were saying that you were, that you check people out on social media, before you partner with them, and I was thinking, because I have no social media presence as of right now. I have, I don't even use what is it, Facegram or Instabook? Um,
All of it. Yeah.
I don't use either one. I have a LinkedIn that I use for a job, and that's about it. Um, but I
Well,
wanna get
since
the
you
word
called
out.
me out on that, since you
Yep.
called me out on that not looking you up, and I'll say why, because we've already done a
We have
meeting
met.
on
So,
Zoom with
it
Desert
was
Waters.
it wasn't we had
So it
met
wasn't a
before.
cold call.
It wasn't cold,
And I
but
enjoyed talking to you and I wanted to give you
yes,
yes, I will absolutely
I
do this with you.
I love it. Thank you for meeting with me, and, again, if you want to, learn more about the Taylor Foundation, please visit www.wearettf.org, and I hope everyone has a great day.